Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the GSMC television podcast brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chad, and today we have a packed show. We are going to talk about the SAG Awards, which were on TV this past Sunday, the 4th of April. And then we're going to roll right into talking about 4 competition shows that are available now. Pooch Perfect, a dog grooming competition show. The Floor is Lava. We're going to talk about World of Dance and Holey Moley. And then we'll end the show with a segment called Today in Television History. So you'll want to stay tuned to the end of that. All right, guys. As you know, I have been covering award season on my podcast. Lots of television awards and things happening in that realm. So I've been kind of talking about it, starting with the Golden Globes and kind of working through. The SAG Awards aired Sunday, April 4th. If you want to see the SAG Awards, which were on TNT Live, it is available on Hulu. You can see both the 1-hour pre-show as well as the 47.5-minute actual primetime award show, all on Hulu, so I recommend checking that out. What are the SAG Awards, you ask? I'm glad you asked. The SAG Awards, so SAG, Screen Actors Guild, that is the actors' union, one of the actors' unions, and they have their own award show. It is typically one of the shorter award shows of the season, and it's unique in that all of the nominations and all of the voting for the winners is done by members of the guild. So it's actors recognizing other actors' work in the shows and movies that they've done throughout the year. That in and of itself really, really, really changes how this show kind of comes across as a viewer. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. Couple of things. So one of the reasons this show is different is because the actors are voting for their peers. And so as a result, I think the entire production and presentation and the reception of awards changes. The tone changes. So the acceptance speeches tend to be shorter, a little more kind of quick and to the point. They're very, I find them to be very authentic and a lot less rambling. A lot of times they will acknowledge the other nominees in their category, and then they'll thank the voters, their peers, and talk about how wonderful it is to be able to, have a job where you get to play every day, kind of thing. It's just a different feel. And this year, like all the other award shows so far this year, the pandemic was a factor. So typically, all of the, celebrities are in a room like any other award show, and they get up and they go up in these, fancy gowns and suits, and they accept their awards. And this year, as they were beginning to plan for the SAG Awards, they didn't know, because the planning's done months in advance, they didn't know where they would be at that point in the pandemic, and if in-person award shows were even going to be possible. And they started planning with the pandemic in mind. And as they got closer and closer, they realized a couple of things. So first off, the industry still is very much not back to what it was. A lot of the actors who are nominated and presenting and involved in the show are currently in production bubbles, working on the work that they, get paid to do as their profession. And so one of the things that the planners and producers of the SAG Awards had to keep in mind is that having those actors leave those bubbles, those quarantine production bubbles, to attend an award show potentially would put their employment at risk, which as a union you don't want to do. And so they decided to go with a show that was very quick and streamlined, running only an hour in prime time, and consisted entirely of video recorded segments. And I thought that of all the award shows I've seen so far this year, the SAG Awards really, really, really did this well. When I didn't watch the 1 hour pre-show, during the pre-show is when they usually give away a lot of the awards that don't get covered on any primetime award show. That's a lot of the technical awards that get given away. Doesn't mean that tech is any less important than the actors, but at the end of the day, when you think about it, people know the names of Mark Ruffalo and Gina Davis. They don't always know Bob the Second Grip on The Mandalorian or Susie from costume design. And so a lot of times to ensure that people are tuning in, they do focus on the actors. And as a technical theater major, that hurts me sometimes, especially now, because I feel like so much of what we see is becoming more and more technical. I read an article the other day about The Mandalorian using a giant digital screen as part of their backdrop when they're filming, which is what's helping to kind of have these really immersive, beautiful, visuals in that show. So that doesn't happen without the technical people that are working behind the scenes. So I want to acknowledge that. Don't come for me in the comments. I acknowledge the techs. But I didn't watch the pre-show. I did watch the 47-minute live show, well, not really live show because I watched it on YouTube. But I streamed the 47-minute show, and it starts with this like montage of the nominees, literally taking pieces from the shows and movies and things that they're nominated in and kind of super cutting them together. Super fun way to introduce all of the nominees all at one time, and then it rolls from that into the more traditional best actor, the best actress, and so on and so forth. The actual nominees are in their homes. There was one that was in his car, wearing a full suit. Why he was filming in his car, I will never know. But I love seeing these intimate moments of the nominees in their homes. I have really enjoyed watching the backgrounds of every newscast and so on and so forth, and looking at what people have on their bookshelves. And so if you're like me, this is just so fun to see people's homes. And one of the things that I wanted to just really quickly cover is I had talked about in the Golden Globes. The Golden Globes kind of start the award season, and so a lot of times when you have popular shows or popular performances in the Golden Globes, you will see those performances and shows kind of continue to come up in all of these award shows, and that absolutely is true of the SAG Awards, where Schitt's Creek, Ted Lasso, and The Crown, three of the ones that I covered in my Golden Globes podcast, all were nominated and won SAG Awards. So Schitt's Creek won Best Comedy Series Ensemble and Best Actress for Catherine O'Hara. Ted Lasso, one of my favorite shows so far this year, was nominated for and won Best Actor in a Comedy Series for Jason Sudeikis. And then The Crown took Best Drama Ensemble, and Best Actress went to Gillian Anderson, who beat out two of her co-stars in that category, Emma Corrin, who plays Princess Diana, and Olivia Colman. Other notable winners of the SAG Awards: Queen's Gambit on Netflix, and Anya Taylor-Joy, the lead in that series, won. And I know this much is true. Best Actor award went to Mark Ruffalo in that particular limited series. He plays twins, so he plays both characters, and talks about mental health, or the show itself, as I understand, is focused on mental health. And so highly recommend checking out the SAG Awards on YouTube. It's a real quick stream, really fun to watch. If you're into award shows, check that out. Okay, we are going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to jump into the meat of this podcast, talk about competition shows. I'm going to cover 4 of them today: Pooch Perfect, The Floor is Lava, Holey Moley, and World of Dance, so stay tuned.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Television Podcast with your host, Chad. We are talking competition shows today, and we are going to talk about 4 of my recent faves. Now, a little backstory. March of 2020, I was furloughed from my job. Spent a couple weeks hanging out in my apartment before I was like, okay, I cannot do this anymore. And decided to pack a bag and come home to mommy's house and hang with her and my grandmother. That was a great decision, put me much closer to my family, gave me lots more to do, and I think is one of the best decisions I made from a mental health perspective, because it prevented me from being alone in a 650 square foot apartment in Boston for months on end. As a result of that, though, I've been watching different shows than I normally watch. My grandmother's 87. We're always trying to find kind of family-friendly programming to watch with her in the evenings. And so competition shows became something that we stumbled on as just kind of a fun, easy thing to throw on, and you can come and go and jump in and out as needed without having to follow storylines and things like that, which works really, really well. And as a result of this, I discovered some new faves. So we're going to start with one that I watched on Netflix called The Floor is Lava, that I really found to be a simple, easy, but fun half-hour competition series to watch, or half-hour episode show to watch. Floor is Lava. Think back to when you were a kid. You probably played this game where you arranged couch cushions and furniture in your living room, and you tried to get from one end of the room to the other without stepping on the floor because the floor is lava. Well, Netflix has turned that into a competition show. Premiering on June 19th, 2020, it is literally the mad genius version of that classic children's game. And I think that's one of the things I like so much about it, is it's so relevant, because I personally feel everyone's played Floor is Lava. You may have kids around you or in your life that play Floor is Lava. So to have that now be kind of this whole new world, this like amplified version on television, is really, really cool. The way the show works, there's teams of contestants, usually 3 to 4, that have to navigate an obstacle course full of puzzles and physical challenges while trying to avoid falling into 80,000 gallons of bubbling red goop that's meant to simulate lava. The winning team gets $10,000 and a really super cool lava lamp trophy. And who doesn't want a lava lamp trophy? I might consider taking that over the 10K. It's that cool to me. This show is fun. So it's basically set in a mansion. And so mansions have lots of rooms. And so there's different courses. And each course corresponds to a different room in this mansion. So there's like a basement course and a kitchen and a planetarium and a study. And so the puzzles and obstacles are different as you're watching, from episode to episode. So you get to see different challenges. And while the teams are navigating through, there's this like bubbling ooze that apparently is a very closely guarded secret. Nobody knows what is used to make the lava. But it is non-toxic, apparently. And at some point they wanted to make it like glow and bubble. But whatever was going to be put in to make it glow was toxic. And so they were like, no, we're not going to put that in there. We want to keep it non-toxic. Good for them. And the people competing. I love the show. It's a super easy watch. I think one of the things I like about it the most is the teams are everyday people from all different walks of life. You have families, firefighters, business partners, just all different shapes, sizes. The demographics are wide-ranging, and so as a family show, I think it works really well. You get to watch these people work through this obstacle course together as they're trying to solve puzzles and hang on to obelisks that are tipping over, trying to get them to fall into the lava. And you get to see how they do it, how they're communicating, how they're working together as a team, which for kids, I think is super, 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 super helpful and important. Heck, for some adults, learning that at this age is helpful. Floor is Lava on Netflix. highly recommend. Before I move on to my next competition show, I want to share a little behind the scenes information that I found on this show, which made it even cooler to me. So Netflix doesn't have their own studios. A lot of productions are done on other studios' lots. So for instance, I'm Warner Brothers and I have a movie that I'm filming. I might film some of it on my own lot in one of my sound stages, which are just these big empty warehouses that can be transformed into all different kinds of things. Or I might use Paramount's lot because they have a water tank and I have a water scene and I don't have a water tank. And so it's not uncommon for networks like Netflix to go and use other studios' facilities to film their shows. Now, apparently, Floor is Lava is a show that almost didn't get made because as Netflix was trying to find a studio space to film in, studios were not interested because they were concerned that you put 80,000 gallons of this, bubbling red goop into a soundstage, it's going to be very messy. And they need to be able to kind of, tear down and clean up these sound stages to get them ready for the next production. And that was not something they were willing to kind of take the risk. Apparently, though, Netflix had a little bit of luck. There's an IKEA in Burbank, California that's no longer being used by IKEA. And anyone who's ever been in an IKEA knows it's just a massive tens of thousands of square feet of open space. And so Netflix secured the old IKEA and did the filming for The Floor is Lava in there, which I thought was really cool, being someone who used to live in LA and did the Universal Studios tour for a while. This kind of stuff I love to geek out on. Floor is Lava on Netflix. Check it out. Okay, now we're going to talk about a competition dance show called World of Dance on NBC. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm a little sad as I do this segment because I just learned a couple weeks ago that World of Dance Season 5 is not happening. It was very unclear as to why Season 5 is not happening. I'm assuming it has to do with the pandemic, but it's not happening. Now, the reason I'm still covering World of Dance today is the first 4 seasons are available on Hulu. All the complete first 4 seasons. So I highly recommend checking it out on Hulu. World of Dance, what is it you're asking? Let me tell you. So we all know Jennifer Lopez, the actress, singer, model, producer, director extraordinaire. She got her start, or is credited with getting her start, as a dancer on In Living Color. And so in her, continued push to own the world and all industries, she's working as a producer, and she decided to get back to her dance roots, and she worked to come up with this show, which she stars as a judge on. She also is an executive producer on, called World of Dance, which basically is a global dance competition that enjoyed 4 seasons on NBC. J-Lo is joined as a judge by Derek Huff, who spent 8 years on Dancing with the Stars, won the, I believe it's the Mirror Ball trophy, 6 times. I don't watch Dancing with the Stars, sorry. But he won the Mirror Ball trophy 6 times, which, as I understand, is a record. He was nominated for 9 Emmys during his 8 years on Dancing with the Stars for choreography. He won that award twice, and he's now acting as a judge on Dancing with the Stars, which is in its 29th season. My mind was blown when I found that out. The third judge in the group is Neo, singer, dancer, performer, Neo. Seasons 1 and 2, so this is one of those shows where it had a host, and then at some point, the host changed. That point was after season 2, so the first 2 seasons were hosted by Jenna Dewan of Step Up fame. I don't know about you, but I've always been a fan of Jenna Dewan, and I thought that she was an amazing host. I have no idea why she didn't continue with the show after 2 seasons, but the new host that they brought in for seasons 3 and 4 is a gentleman by the name of Scott Evans, who, as I understand, works for Access Hollywood. I personally did not care for Scott Evans as a host. I thought Jenna Dewan brought a lot more energy and enthusiasm, and because she literally has a background as a dancer, her insight and comments and the things that she would say or how she interacted with the dancers on the show was just a whole different level than what Scott was able to do. And that, for me, made a massive difference in the hosting of the first 2 seasons, first seasons 3 and 4. The reason I think that season 5 may have fallen victim to the COVID curse is because season 4 had started filming and ended up having to kind of adjust production for COVID. And so a lot of the things that they had done the first 3 seasons were changed from how they did auditions to even the performances. And so it had a different kind of feel and energy to it. Personally, I felt like it lost something in season 4. And so that may have impacted the viewership. I don't know. I'm just spitballing and speculating over here. But that's my guess. The way the show works is they were taking audition submissions from all over the world. So a lot of times, a lot of the dancers that were auditioning, the ages range from, I think it was like 9 and 10 all the way up from there. It was both solo dancers, pairs, as well as groups. So they had categories that kind of captured all the different sizes of dance teams. But then they also had categories that covered different genres of dance. So you had the classic kind of dancers, and then you also had the poppers and the locks and, you know, the popping and locking. Wow, I sound so not cool right now. But the more hip hop dancers and all of that. And so in that way, it was a really, really great dance show because you got to see a variety of different styles of dance. And the show always started with a structure where it had multiple levels. So you would start with the qualifiers, where you were competing against other dancers in the same category as you. So a hip-hop team wouldn't be competing against a soloist kind of thing. And so that was cool because they would take those teams and they would eliminate 2 right off the top, and then you'd have like 5 left, and they would go on to the duels. And the duels is where, again, you're competing against other dancers in your category as you try to kind of whittle down the number of dancers in each category. And then when you've gotten that category a little bit tighter, then you go to the cut, and that was a more kind of cutthroat, one and done. You either do it all on this performance or you're out kind of thing, because now we're getting down to those finalists in each category. And then there's the division final. And the division final would whittle it down to one final winner from any of the genres of dance on the show. Contestants were competing for $1 million. This show was like, whew, you're going for it. And what was so nice is that the judging panel comes from a variety of different backgrounds. And so as they're doing their judging, they're able to weigh in on a bunch of different kind of aspects of the dances that they're seeing. They scored on a 100-point score with 20 points falling into each of 5 categories. Performance, which included effort and personality. So that's what they were kind of looking at in the performance category. Technique, which covered transitions, cleanliness, and the execution of your dance. Choreography was a scoring category, which included difficulty, musicality, and any tricks that dancers might do. And let me tell you, like, just so fun to watch. Like, every single moment of these performances, the tricks and things that they were doing were just mind-blowing. Creativity is a category for scoring. It covered the originality of the piece, the artistic choices that were made, and dynamics in the dance piece, and then presentation. And presentation really covers, crowd appeal, the impact, was there an emotional impact, that kind of thing. Jennifer Lopez was famous for talking about the goosies, that she would get the goosebumps after a dancer performed. And because all of the judges come from a dance background, they were really, really good at walking that line between criticism and care. Just really providing amazing feedback to these dancers all along the process. And you really, really, really felt like they had their best interest at heart. And it was a competition show for entertainment, but it was also for the growth of these individual dancers. I cannot say enough about World of Dance. Highly recommend checking it out on Hulu. It is a great, great family competition show to watch. So check out World of Dance on Hulu. All right, we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the new ABC competition show, Pooch Perfect.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Television Podcast with your host, Chad. We are talking competition shows today, and we're going to continue this train talking about Pooch Perfect on ABC. All right, last week, I'm sitting with my grandmother, I'm flipping through channels, trying to find something to watch. I stumble upon Pooch Perfect, hosted by Rebel Wilson. Now, I love Rebel Wilson. I've seen all the Pitch Perfect movies. love her to death. And so the fact that she is hosting a show that involves dogs, I thought, why not? So I put it on. I was not ready. I was not ready for what Pooch Perfect is. Just got to say that. This is a new dog grooming competition show that pits 10 pairs of professional groomers from all over the country against each other as they compete for somewhat cheesy, in my opinion, trophy and a $100,000 cash prize. So the trophy, it's like every trophy your kid's ever gotten for participating in the soccer game. It has like the shield with a paw on it, paw print rather, and then at the top there's like a white poodle. And so I was like, the trophy, whatever, but $100,000 cash prize, yeah, sign me up. So couple things about this show. First off, if you are a fan of puns, P-U-N-S, then you are going to love this show. So many puns, dog puns for days, and they know it. They are going for the puns, and Rebel Wilson is there for it. I mean, she just loves the puns. Teams compete in immunity puppertunities. There's a pun. These immunity puppertunity challenges, and then they go from that to face off in the ultimate challenge, where they create mind-bending transformations using their grooming skills. So a couple things about this show. I was not sure what to expect, but I thought, how much can you possibly do with dog grooming? I mean to tell you, the conventional thinking on dog grooming that you probably have in your head is like not what this show is. This show is like taking the Hollywood starlet's purse pooch in its, rhinestone collars and cute little tutu outfit and like multiplying it times 500,000. And it's hosted by Rebel Wilson, who apparently has like a long time history with dogs. So for starters, she hosted the Australian version of this show in 2020. Didn't know it existed, but apparently it did. And now we've got the American version. Her great-grandmother began a beagle club, the first beagle club in Australia. Her mother is an international dog show judge. And Rebel Wilson sold grooming products for dogs as a child, as young as 7. Did all this, mind you, and she's allergic to dogs, which is just really funny. So Rebel's the host, and then there's 3 judges, because, you can't have a competition show without judges. The judges for this show are made up of dog lover Lisa Vanderpump of Housewives and Vanderpump Rules fame, celebrity dog groomer Jorge Bendersky. Sorry, Jorge, I know I just butchered your last name. And veterinarian Dr. Callie Harris. So you've got the celebrity, you've got the dog groomer, and you have the veterinarian, and they all make up this judging panel. Not to be outdone in the puns, Lisa Vanderpump apparently really loves a pun, and there were multiple moments in the first episode where it was almost like everyone on the set kind of had a moment of, did she really just say that? As she would make some slightly borderline blue pun reference. I'm not going to go into it on here, but I highly recommend checking it out. Her puns, they got a little risque. Sometimes they got risque. So the show starts off they introduce the 10 grooming pairs, and they are presented with their first immunity puppertunity challenge. And that first challenge is to take a dog and groom it using your heart animal as your inspiration. Now, for those of you who are like me and have no clue what a heart animal is, they are kind enough on the show to explain it for us. So basically, the way they loosely defined it is that animal, that dog that you had that really impacted you, that taught you something new about dogs or impacted your life in a significant, substantial way. A lot of times it was the groomer's first dog, but it didn't have to be. You know, it could be your fifth dog, and that one just happened to, you know, there was something about that connection that was different. That could be your heart animal. So one groomer from each team must have provided information on their heart dog before the show. And so when it came time for this immunity puppertunity, love it, they bring in that breed of dog for that groomer to work on. So it's not like my heart animal's a pit bull, but I'm working with a Shih Tzu. No, if my heart animal is a pit bull, then I'm going to be working with a pit bull. So they bring in these dogs, and these dogs, man, let me tell you, they need grooming. A lot of them, the fur is overgrown and matted, or just super long. Some of them were dirty, like they had just rolled around in mud. I mean, like, these dogs needed some work. And the groomers get 2 hours for this first challenge. Now, like I said, I was expecting dog grooming to consist of just kind of the normal thing. They're going to cut their hair, they're going to give them a bath, they're going to trim the nails, maybe they put some, you know, sparkly rhinestone collar on and a little costume. Like, that's what was in my mind when I turned this show on. That is not what this show is. These groomers went all out. I mean, to tell you, they were shaving shapes into dogs. Like, one of the groomers put a heart in the fur, like shaved a heart into the fur on one of the dog's hips. You know, they were putting rhinestones on dogs. They are dyeing them all different colors. I mean, it was really, really, really interesting. There were little, like, pom-pom things on one of the dog's ankles. Really interesting. So the groomers have the 2 hours. They complete this immunity puppertunity, and then they present their dog, and the judges provide their critique. Now, it's really interesting, the critiques. They were, I thought, really hard on some of these contestants. Just very brutal honesty about the work they had done. Especially the celebrity groomer Jorge. He just was like not having it on some of these dogs, and I thought it was kind of interesting. It reminded me of, you know, like early Simon Cowell on American Idol, where it's just like, do you have anything nice to say, and could you form that in a slightly more constructive sentence structure? That part I didn't particularly care for about the judging, but overall it was kind of cool to see what they do with the dogs in that challenge. So the next part of the show is they go to the Ultimate Challenge, where they have 4 hours to perform the ultimate transformation on their dogs. And so for this first episode, the theme of the Ultimate Challenge was animal transformation, where they had to take a dog and they had to transform it through grooming into a different animal. So I'm telling you that they had grooming pairs that did a badger, there was an elephant, there was a peacock. I mean, they are doing this on a dog and turning the dog into these animals. That's how massive a transformation we are talking about here. This was really interesting to watch because it involved a lot of kind of, first they conceptualize what they're doing, and then there's tons of dye and a whole lot of hair cutting and shaving and shaping, and even like applying things. Like they had some kind of adhesive that they were using, one of the teams, to put feathers on the dog so that it represented like a peacock. Really, really interesting and kind of amazing what they came up with. And at the end of the 4 hours of grooming, the groomers have to walk the dog walk. The dog walk with their dog and present them to the judges, and then the judges will give critiques, and then ultimately they choose one person to move on. So, they choose one person to be eliminated, one grooming pair to be eliminated. In the case of the first episode, it was a mother and son grooming pair that got eliminated. The criticism of their grooming, both in the immunity, opportunity, and the ultimate challenge, was just brutal. So you kind of knew before they said anything that she and her son were definitely going home. But yeah, interesting show. Now, before I move on, I have to provide a little bit of a disclaimer on this show. It premiered on the 30th of March on ABC and sparked immediate backlash from PETA, People for the Ethical Treatments of Animals, and viewers alike. So some of the concerns that were raised range from stress caused by the grooming, stress on the dogs, potential heart risk with the dye, and possible allergic reactions in the dogs. And then there was also a concern that people would watch the show, like random everyday people like you and I, and we would watch the show and then go out and try to replicate things with our dogs, where we would use dyes and things that potentially were not good for dogs and could cause health problems or death to animals. And so I don't know, given the kind of public outcry and the comments, how long the show will last. I do think it is worth checking out. I found it to be kind of a fun half hour. I was not surprised after watching the show to start reading articles online and seeing them pop up about the complaints from viewers and PETA about their concerns. I was not surprised at all, because once I realized that the show was more than just nail trims and haircuts, I had that moment of that can't be good for the dog in the back of my mind. So if you are like a die-hard animal lover, this show may be a little hard for you to watch. If not, if you're cool and just looking to check out something kind of interesting and very unique, then check out Pooch Perfect on ABC. All right, guys, we are going to take our last break, and when we come back, we are going to wrap up the show talking about Holey Moley and my segment, Today in Television History. Stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Television Podcast with your host, Chad. We are talking competition shows today, and we have one left on my agenda, and that is Holey Moley. Okay. I think it is fairly safe to say that most of you that are listening have been to a miniature golf course at least once. If you haven't been, you're probably at least familiar with the fact that they exist and what they are. I love mini golf. If you've never been, don't know what a mini golf course is, basically you are taking a golf ball and a putter, which is the club that's used for just kind of short. It's like the last one that a golfer uses after they've gotten close to the hole and they just want to get it the last, few feet or inches even into the hole. They use the putter. So you basically are armed with a putter and a golf ball, and you go to these different holes at the course, and the holes aren't like traditional golf course holes where it's like slanted and that kind of thing. They have obstacles, like there might be a windmill and the arms of the windmill are spinning and you have to hit the ball through the windmill without having the arm knock the ball and then get it, to bank off of a little house to get it into the hole kind of thing. Lots of fun. People get really creative with miniature golf courses, and if you haven't been, I highly recommend checking one out. So, golf, the sport, I love. It is the perfect opportunity to meld relaxation outside and beer. So I am a huge fan. I suck at it, but I'm really good at the relaxation outside and beer part. And so mini golf is just a more fun version of that I actually can be successful at. So I'm huge when it comes to mini golf. And there was a time when I was learning to golf that I got like super immersed. I'm a little obsessive compulsive, and so it was like I was all about it. It was like every day I wanted to hit the driving range, and I was setting up 9 holes with my buddy on my day off, and then on the weekend I would throw golf on television while I was sitting on the couch or cleaning the house or whatever. It would be on in the background because I was a golfer now, kind of thing. And let me tell you, golf, it's common for people to say it's boring to watch on television. If you have any interest in the game, that helps eliminate some of that boredom. But it's cool. The idea that they have now taken mini golf and turned it into a competitive sport on ABC, I am here for it. Holy moly. This is an ABC sports reality competition show that focuses on miniature golf. But these courses are not like your normal miniature golf course. If you take miniature golf and Wipeout and you smoosh them together, you come up with some of the courses on Holey Moley. I mean, these courses are on steroids. And it's structured in such a way where contestants are participating in these head-to-head rounds and slowly getting eliminated throughout these rounds until they get to the end and they compete head-to-head, the last 2 finalists, and one of them wins the golden putter. And so first season, they had 12 contestants per episode, and the episodes are like relatively short, but they would have 12 contestants per episode, and they would whittle it down to 1. And then in season 2, or Holey Moley, the sequel as they call it, they would start with 8 contestants and whittle it down to 1. So there was a slight shift in kind of the number of people participating. The show, okay, so this show is set up to be fun. Absolutely, whether you don't even have to like golf or have played mini golf to have fun watching this show. So first off, there are a number of hosts, and each host kind of does its own thing. They literally treat this like it is a televised sporting event. So you have Stephen Curry, the NBA player, or Stephen Curry, the NBA player who acts as the resident golf pro and quote-unquote is designing and conceptualizing the different holes on this course. You have Joe Tessitore, who's a sportscaster for ABC and ESPN, like a legit sportscaster, and he handles play-by-play analysis. And his co-host is comedian Rob Riggle, who basically provides the color commentary. And I cannot stress enough, this show is worth it for the two of them alone. The chemistry and the banter between Joe Tessitore and Rob Riggle is freaking gold. It is amazing. To the point where I was watching the finale of season 2, and I cannot help but be convinced that a lot of what we see on television is literally them just ad-libbing and improvising and just saying it in the moment and then reacting to what each other are saying. I mean, and their timing is just golden. It is so much fun. But there's a fourth member of the team, and the fourth member of the team is Jeannie Mai. She's a talk show host on the daytime talk show The Real. If you haven't watched it, Jeannie Mai is one of the hosts, and then she also acts on this particular show on Holey Moley. She acts as the sideline correspondent, so she's talking to the competitors after they finish their round. She's talking to the spectators and kind of getting into it with them like any sideline correspondent would. So the show, they're competing for the Golden Putter Trophy, but the contestants are also, when they win, they get $25,000 cash prize. So not bad at all. Everybody could use a little extra cash, right? And the way the show is set up is these courses, they involve a lot more than just the golfing. So they'll have to make a putt, but in order to make that putt, like they'll take their first swing, and if it's not a hole-in-one, which is where you swing your club once and the ball goes straight into the hole, then they have to get from where they started to their tee-off point, where they start, to where the ball landed, so that they can continue their round. Only getting there's these obstacles. So, for instance, there's an obstacle where you have to putt your ball, and then you have to navigate across a narrow kind of pathway that's lined with porta potties. And you have to wait until you get the green light, and then haul booty, like run full out across this pathway, because at some point the doors of the porta potty are going to open, and if you're in front of it, you're going to get knocked off into the water hazard. So it's really funny. It is really funny to watch these people try to make it across, and inevitably nobody makes it across, and you see them, like, literally there's guys in these porta potties just opening the doors like full force and just knocking these people off this platform into the water. There's another hole where, because all of the holes are different, they all have these different names and kind of things, and so one of them is the distractor, and you have this hole that you're trying to put a ball into, but behind the hole or all around you are these distractions. So in one episode, they're trying to make this putt while there's male strippers doing the whole full-on Magic Mike behind the hole. So you've got this, that you're trying to kind of block out of your mind. Just really, really fun stuff. And in the season 2 finale, they had some newly designed holes. So one of them involved clowns. So the contestant would get strapped in, their feet strapped into these boots on this like giant barrel, hollow barrel with a putting green, and the ball was magnetic, and so it would stick to the putting green, and then they spin the contestant around in a circle and make them putt the ball while hanging upside down. And if they don't make it into the hole, they get a pie in the face from a clown. Really funny stuff. They had another hole, the final hole, because it was the finale. They took they had taken the contestants, 12 contestants from the 12 previous shows, and the winner from the 12 previous shows, they got put on these teams of 3, and the person that won the hole out of that team of 3 goes to this finale, which was this giant Egypt-themed hole where they had to like putt the ball across the spinning disc with the 3 pyramids of Giza on it, and so you could kind of bank the ball off of the pyramids if you wanted to while that disc is spinning, and then get it into the hole. And the first person to hole in one it got $1 million and like a bedazzled putter trophy. And so watching them go through the process of trying to make this hole-in-one putt for $1 million was just freaking awesome. Really, really awesome. And one of the competitors that got to this Final Four was actually a professional golf pro. So it was really cool to see this professional golfer and kind of the tactics and strategies that she was using versus these more amateur mini golf enthusiasts. Just a really fun show on ABC. It has been renewed for a 3rd season. All of season 2 is available on Hulu now. So I highly recommend checking out Holey Moley. Season 2 is available on Hulu. Okay, I want to end today's show with things that happened on this date in television history. The day is April 7th, 2021. This is just kind of a hodgepodge of fun facts, things that took place either specifically in television history or in the lives of people that are associated with television in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to start out with birthdays. One of the birthdays that occurred on April 7th in 1928. James Garner was born in Norman, Oklahoma. You may know James Garner from shows like Rockford Files as well as Maverick. A wedding of interest. Donald J. Trump married his first wife, Czech model Ivana, at Marble Collegiate Church in Manhattan, New York in 1977. A divorce of interest. Actress Shannon Doherty of 90210 fame filed for divorce from her husband, Ashley Hamilton, on April 7th, 1994. In 1986, April 7th, 1986, WrestleMania 2, Hulk Hogan beat King Kong Bundy. And Mr. T, I pity the poor fool, beat Roddy Piper in a boxing match. And to wrap up this segment, we have In Memoriam. On April 7th, 2012, Mike Wallace, journalist and media personality from a lot of different shows, but the one I know him for is 60 Minutes, a show that I really, really enjoy. He was also a media personality. He passed of natural causes at age 93 on April 7th, 2012. So rest in peace, Mike Wallace. Thank you guys for joining me on today's podcast, and I look forward to podcasting for you again in the future. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Television Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us out. Also, if you could please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, really appreciate it. And don't forget to smash that like button. Thank you, and see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.